I have played World of Warcraft for 9 years. I've leveled up every class to 100 and then some, and I've done pretty much everything there is to do in the game. And my biggest regret is that I've never actually read the quest text. Sure, I've seen all the cinematics, I've even read a few books. I know most of the story, but I've missed out on the most important story of them all. My own journey. The hero's journey in World of Warcraft. So I've taken it upon myself to play through every single zone and do every single quest and read every bit of quest text and then some. And then I'm going to do my best to share everything I've learned with you, just in case you might have missed out on the story too. So be warned, this video is going to contain massive spoilers. Now, let today's journey begin.
Though Lady Sylvanas and her Forsaken finally took vengeance upon their hated enemy, the Lich King, their dark crusade in Northrend proved costly. Betrayed by Grand Apothecary Putrus at the Battle of Wrathgate, the Forsaken's devious plague of death was unleashed upon both the Alliance and the Horde to calamitous effect. Unbeknownst to Sylvanas, Putrus and his demonic ally, Veramathras, had taken control of the Undercity. As a result, the Forsaken were wrongly blamed for the traitor's atrocities. Though the Undercity was eventually retaken, Sylvanas and her followers still bear the weight of Putrus' sins. Mistrusted by the other members of the Horde, the Forsaken must now prove their loyalty to the cause and redeem themselves from their supposed treachery. To this end, Sylvanas has bolstered her defenses within the Tirisfal Glades and readied her undead forces for any contingency. As one of the Forsaken, you must use your cunning and viciousness to slay any who would pose a threat to Sylvanas' rule, be they human, undead, or otherwise.
You wake up next to your own open grave, having just been raised from death by a Valkyr named Agatha. Around you, there are other Valkyr flying about the graveyard and raising even more undead. Agatha speaks to you, assuring you that you are no slave, free to follow your own path. But there is room for you to serve the Dark Lady and join the Forsaken. Nearby, you find Undertaker Mordo, a fellow undead, and he tells you that you've been dead for a very long time, but you seem to be holding up pretty well. Unfortunately, some of the other risen corpses aren't doing so well, and he's going to have to sew together a few of the bodies. After fetching him some embalming fluid and twine, he begins his work, connecting hip bones with thigh bones and jaw bones with head bones. He then tells you that hundreds of undead are raised every day, many of whom have lost their minds upon being raised, shambling about aimlessly, and even turning to violence. And now it's up to you to destroy them. But some who have run off are not mindless. They still have their free will intact, but they aren't coping well with being undead. Since you're handling things so well, apparently, you're asked to find them and console them, to help them understand. Maybe they can relate to you. The first of whom is Lillian Voss, who hasn't even realized that she's undead, and still sees them as a blight on the world. When you confront her, she runs away in denial. Nearby you find Marshal Redpath, who brazenly challenges you to a fight. He threatens to create his own Forsaken, and then runs off shouting, "You're the monster! I'm just a man who died." Eventually you find Valdred Moray, who seems to have no idea what's going on. When you remind him that he's dead, he begins to remember how it happened. He says that it was an orc who had cut off his hands and left him to die. And then it dawns on him, and he looks down and is panic-stricken when he realizes that he has hands, but they're not his. You assure him that everything's fine, and that Undertaker Mordo probably just sewed new hands on for him. And surprisingly, he takes the news pretty well. Out of the 3 people that you talk to, he's the only one that accepts his fate as a risen undead, and agrees to join the Forsaken. You eventually arrive in the nearby village of Deathknell, where you run into Deathguard Sultane. You learn that the Forsaken have been shipping dead bodies from Silverpine, Hillsbrad, and anywhere else they can be found back to Deathknell to be raised from death in the same way that you were. Every fallen foe is brought back here to be raised in hopes that they will join the Forsaken, increasing their numbers. Many of whom can still be found nearby. As the Forsaken continue their fight with the Scarlet Crusade, many of the fallen foes still lie in Deathknell, which you are sent to recover. Deathknell is also littered with ghouls and skeletons, remnants of what was once the Scourge, but they are no match for you. Eventually, you find Lillian Voss cowering in a nearby inn. She still hasn't come to terms with what she has become, so you show her a mirror in hopes that seeing her reflection will help her accept her new existence. Unfortunately, this plan backfires and she runs away from you and out of the inn, panicking. So you continue to assist the Forsaken in Deathknell for a little while longer, until you learn that Marshal Redpath has come through with his promise to create his own Forsaken in a small camp nearby, and they plan to attack Deathknell. Upon your arrival, the battle at the camp has already begun, and as you fight your way through the Rotbrain Forsaken, you eventually encounter Redpath himself, where you slay him. His last words being, "I'm a monster, don't look at me." Marshal Redpath, better known as Marcus Redpath. Before the Cataclysm, he was the leader of the Alliance forces in Southshore, located in Hillsbrad Foothills. He now lies before you, a fallen undead, falling in death after falling into insanity. You return to Deathknell, pondering all that has happened. So many undead are raised up, some in shambles, others insane, but you have returned mostly intact. With this notion, your work in Deathknell is finished, and you are sent out to continue your service to the Forsaken in Tristfall Glades. You are asked to deliver a letter which contains the whereabouts of the remaining members of the Scarlet Crusade to Deathguard Simmer, who resides in the nearby manse just north of Deathknell. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that like button. And if you found it informative, perhaps you'd like to inform your friends by sharing it with them. And don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see future videos on this channel. Thanks for watching, have a wonderful day, this is TheKephas, until next time.